onto a letter from Arty Prokhorov, writing from Moscow, in, well, Russia it should be these days. Dear friends, I am a radio amateur and I've been interested in pirate radio since 1990. I'd like to thank you for your excellent Sparks programme. My friends and I sometimes hear it. Especially for the programme, I want to tell you that I am DJ of pirate radio station RSR, Romantic Space Radio. My station is relayed and broadcast via BWBI, Radio Without Borders International, the station which is located somewhere in Moscow. The musical format of RSR Radio's Romantic Space Radio is electronic and acoustic music like Jean-Michel Jarre, Tangerine Dream, Space, etc. The address is P.O. Box 29, Moscow 109444 in Russia. Well, any excuse to play some Tangerine Dream. I'll tell you that you're listening to Sparks. Our address, if you'd like to write to us, I sincerely hope you do, is Radiofax The Forge, Cranley, England, GU6 7BG. If you'd like to write to us, you can expect in return a station card, technical information and an artist's impression of the transmitter site. But for that you must send 50 pence, $1 or 3 international reply coupons. However, even if you can't stretch to that, I guarantee to read your letter out on air and say hello to you. Thanks to Arty Prokhorov for that letter from Moscow. It's Radiofax 6205 12255 and for the winter in the UK 3910. Today, Sparks, our weekly programme of technical, media and scientific news, presented by Andy Burnham, Trevor Brooke and Martin Dealey.
Taken from Computer Weekly, Thursday, December the 5th. Mirror Group accused of PC software piracy. Software piracy officials say that 4 out of 5 packages on 400 PCs at Mirror Group newspapers are illegally copied.
Radio Cracker, which operated with 95 stations spread throughout the country for 3 weeks on special event licenses up to Christmas, got a mention on the Radio 4 PM programme.
Our religious affairs correspondent Mike Wooldridge sat in on a marathon broadcast overnight at one of the Radio Cracker stations.
Radio Cracker, South London, 100.4 FM. Tune in. Pay out.
Playing the best in indie music. Paul, Ian and Andy on South London's Radio Cracker 100.4.
Paul, Ian and Andy sit in the most makeshift of studios in a small upper room of what was once a manor house and host an all-night show as zany as it is smooth.
Damn fine music on a damn fine show.
And we at the Damn Fine Music Show are very pleased, proud and privileged, let's get all the P's in there, shall we, to welcome into our studio Avignon the Weather Prophet.
Hello. I do have a prophecy for the new year, which I would like to give, if I may. In 1992, the first month of 1992 will be January.
But the fun is all to raise funds.
We are here to raise money for Brazilian street children by taking your dedications and donations.
And pledges, and also, as we mentioned, the sweatshirt, we are taking bids for that. At the moment, the bidding is at £10.
It's a sweatshirt and a copy on either a CD.
There are almost 8 million kids on the street in Brazil alone, and they are, in a very vulnerable position. So that's why we're here, and everybody's learned a lot about the situation through being involved in the project.
Phil Stokes, a local pastor and one of the organisers of the station. A strong Christian element runs through the nationwide Radio Cracker operation.
If nobody helps them, then nobody... So many kids are going to be dying every day. So I don't think that it's just the responsibility to get the government to do something. We've got to do something as well.
But this Christmas station is also concerned about problems closer to home. Its ads are ads with a difference.
10,000 gallons of tea served every week. Hot breakfast served every morning, 365 days of the year. Second-hand clothing, medical help and good counsel, all available at our Waterloo Day Centre for Homeless People. Who are we? The London City Mission, and we have been in the capital since 1835.
We wanted to get the community involved in what we're doing. So we've actually talked about the homelessness issue, about third world giving, about addictions, various different titles and subjects that we've looked at. People have rung in, and we've had good conversations with folks over the air. It's been very much a community thing.
Radio Cracker, Mike Wooldridge reporting.
From the PM programme on BBC Radio 4, and then comment on Radio Cracker from Radio Orion.
I think that there'll also be a law preventing this sort of thing occurring, and also I think they shouldn't be allowed to promote religious activities on the air like this, like say come to my church tomorrow in Stourbridge. I think this is very, very reprehensible and should be stopped.
Comment there about Radio Cracker in the Midlands from Radio Orion.
I'm saying nothing. A couple of stations to be heard in the London area. Pirates. Kevin Thorpe tells me that Elite FM can be heard in the Battersea area on 98.5 FM at weekends. Not very together in their professional style, but they play good music, he says. And also, Tim Henry passes me a flyer. Listen to Base 101 FM for more information on Future Dance, radioactive hardcore. Future Dance is a new kick-in organisation involved in entertaining the raver. The Future Dance posse will bring you throughout 1992 hardcore events, including many all-nighters, all of which will be legal, licensed, confirmed. Future Dance, therefore, without doubt, will be one of the spectacular exponents of the rave scene within Surrey, transforming selected venues into the future with a PH, with massive sound systems, futuristic FX, lightning rigs, and the best in musical entertainment. Membership is required to enter all our events, with a limited amount available. Call the phone line below and you will be posted a membership application to complete. Well, in case you're interested, the number is 0836 047057. Base 101 FM, hardcore entertainment on your FM dial. Couldn't be further away from Radio Cracker, really, could it?
In The Guardian, the last word column, letter from New York, Rosemary Lamb, with an urgent warning for Britain. From our point of view in New York, more channels usually means worse programming. The quality of original television drama in England is so superior to that in the United States, it makes me want to start a campaign for a uniform licensing fee to be given to the public television system in the US. I think we have a pun here, an article in The Guardian. It's not called Ship Shape, but Sick Shape. Andy Mayer recalls a voyage of discovery. In 1976, a small production team arrived in Ramsgate to make a film about the pirate radio ship Caroline. They found a boatman, Captain Jim, who would take them to the vessel on his boat, Delta Lady. The 1968 Marine Offences Act forbade them boarding the station, but they had brought a loudhailer through which the presenter would quiz the disc jockeys on life afloat. They checked into their hotel and met up with the film crew. Mike the cameraman, his assistant Peter, and elderly Angus, the sound recordist. The researcher went to find Captain Jim, who proved anxious to join them for a short drink. This turned out to be a series of short drinks, a meal, then back to the bar, and although Captain Jim discovered quite early that he had left his wallet behind, he didn't let it spoil his evening. On the quayside next morning, waiting for Delta Lady, the producer saw Angus being sick into a litter bin. "Is he all right?" he asked Mike. "Oh, take no notice, he's just a bad sailor." "But we're still on land. The boat's not even here yet." "Well, it's the anticipation, you see. Once he gets going, there'll be no stopping him," said the cameraman ambiguously. Delta Lady arrived, and before sailing, breakfast was prepared. The team wolfed the bacon and eggs down, although Angus confined himself to dry bread, which he ate sitting on the quayside with his back to the water. Once over the bar, the sea became choppy, and spray drenched the open area in the stern where the team had been enjoying the view. They retired to the cabin, with the exception of Angus, who refused to come inside and sat huddled against the spray with eyes tightly shut. After some minutes, Captain Jim announced that they were heading for a storm. "Better get the old bloke inside," he recommended. Mike said he didn't believe this was possible. "In that case, we'd best lash him to the deck." Captain Jim fetched some rope, and he and Mike spread-eagled Angus face down on deck and tied him securely. Soon Delta Lady was moving in a manner which made the team regret their breakfast. The producer and researcher distracted themselves by preparing a rudimentary auto cue for the presenter's piece to camera. They had brought a roll of plain wallpaper, and on this they wrote the speech with a felt tip marker. The smell of ink upset the researcher, and he stepped outside.
And can you guess what happened next? More from that story in a moment. Continuing with the story about a 1976 film on Radio Caroline, revisited recently in a new TV series.
Returning from being sick, he reported that the deck was awash and the soundman drowning. The producer hurried outside. The rolling of the vessel occasionally exposed Angus, and then he would take a desperate gulp of air, but most of the time he was beneath the waves. The producer sawed hastily through the bonds with his Swiss Army knife and hauled the semi-conscious soundman indoors, where he threw up on the carpet. "He can't stay there if he's going to keep doing that," complained the presenter. So Angus was bundled, still vomiting, into a tiny cabin underneath the wheelhouse and tied up once more to stop him tumbling about. After half an hour, the storm slackened, and the director decided to get the piece to camera done. They struggled out on deck. The rain made the ink run and blurred the presenter's spectacles. In the middle of a barely comprehensible piece, the wind whipped the wallpaper autocue overboard, and the presenter was sick to camera. Mike, peering through the camera, threw up in sympathy. The piece was abandoned. By the time they reached Radio Caroline, the sun was shining, and apart from Angus, who remained bound up in his cabin, the team had regained their equilibrium. The encounter took place successfully, and they turned for home. When they tied up in Ramsgate, 2 customs officers came aboard. The team chatted with one of the excise men, while the other searched the vessel. "Surprising how many of you chaps it takes to make a film." "Yes, well, there's 2 on camera, 1 on sound." The producer's voice trailed off as he remembered someone was missing. There's something you ought to know," he began, but too late. At that moment, the other customs officer cried out in horror as he opened the door under the wheelhouse. "I can explain everything," he began. That was by Andy Mayer, published in the Media Guardian, and repeats the oft-stated claim of Ronan O'Reilly that the weather is always calm around the ship, but perhaps in light of recent experience we should say it's only effective when the ship's broadcasting.
That ride out and back sounds all too familiar. Digital film squeeze. From mid-1993, Japanese homes will be able to receive satellite-transmitted films, which have been digitally compressed into 5 minutes, according to Entertainment Made Convenient.
ZDF also suggests the Commission should make sure that PAL, D2Mac and HDMac are fully compatible with one another and with existing equipment. ZDF has one last idea. Why not drop the directive altogether and just recommend D2Mac to those that like it? That way, the directive would become a suggestive. That by Andrew von Gam in International Broadcasting.
Columnist in Electronics Design magazine and staff scientist at National Semiconductor Bob Pease has a new book out, Troubleshooting Analog Circuits. Here's a chance to take advantage of his years of experience designing analog circuits and working the bugs out of them. This book is for you whether you're designing analog circuits at the board, box, system or IC level. It's for technicians working alongside a designer, student electrical engineers and teachers of analog design. Even one bug-finding technique recovered from the book more than pays for it. But the best part may just be in the reading. It's pure peas. Never before has such potentially dry material been so much fun to peruse. You may have to keep it locked in your desk, except when in use. The 208-page hardcover book is $32.95 and is published by Butterworth Heinemann. The address in America is 80 Montville Avenue, Stoneham, 02180. Telephone 800 366 2665. Or you can order the book by post for $35.95, including tax and shipping. The address for that, Robert Pease, 682 Miramar Avenue, San Francisco, California, 94112-1232. That review by Frank Goodenough, who's the editor of Electronics Design. Maybe that's why it's such a glowing review, but it does sound like a rather interesting book. Hello to Robert Marshall, who writes from Canterbury, Tyler Hill. Many thanks for the card and literature on Radiofax, together with your remarks. And he goes on to give us some reception reports, thanks, and all the best for a licence, he signs off. And a couple of letters from Germany. First from you, Warschwakor, from Friedrichsdorf in Germany. He's listening on 6205 with a Grundig Satellite 500 with telescopic aerial. I'm a regular listener to your really interesting radio reports, especially Sparks. Well, thanks very much for that letter. And Stefan Schliepak, I think it's pronounced, from Frankfurt in Germany. Since many years I'm tuning into faraway radio stations from all over the globe. I was able to tune into your signal aired on the shortwave band. I tuned in your new frequency and was surprised to find a very strong signal. I appreciate the program format. Hope you'll stay on the air. He's listening on 3910. I think a lot of us have been surprised as to how well the reception on that's been. With a JRC NRD 525 receiver. And, as an antenna, a 6-beam inverted V directed towards Asia and America for shortwave and AM, 60 metres above ground, length of the aerials from 15 to 45 metres. Quite a setup we've got there. Stefan Schliepak in Frankfurt.